welcome to the Hungriest Knitter. This is episode 5. I'm Rachel, and I'm so glad that you're spending a little bit of time with me today. I think it's the constant refrain of everyone, of all podcasters. Things have been a little crazy, a little hectic. I am just returned home from a very long day at the office. And when I walked in the door, I completely forgot that I was going to podcast today. I think I was also distracted because it is the end of March. What day is it? March 20th, I believe. March 25th. And it snowed all day in Washington, D.C. Because that's normal. Especially after this past weekend when it was kind of beautiful out and I didn't have to wear a coat. So Mother Nature will not relent this year. That being said, I do have a lot to share, and I thought I'd start today talking a little bit more about my knitting journey and what we do, why it's so important to craft, I think, or for me at least, and what to do when you lose your mojo, because that happened to me in a huge way. So I've already shared, I believe in episode 1, that I learned to knit when I was in college, and then sort of my passion for it grew when I was in grad school. And I think one of the things I most love about knitting and about craft in general is that at the end of the day you have a tangible product to show for your work, especially as someone who comes from academia, or at least spending many years as a student. You put a lot of time and energy into processing information, and your output is your knowledge. But you can write a thesis, and you do have that product at the end of the day. But I think it feels a little more theoretical. We're working in the realm of ideas. So to return to handcraft and be able to do something that's analog, and realize that it takes skill and time and energy and thought in order to do it, and then have something useful and something that brings you joy at the end is a really valuable pursuit. And I think it explains why so many people today are so interested in sort of learning these more traditional crafts, whether it's like woodworking or fiber crafting, or maybe something more in the culinary arts, like those of us who are interested in gardening and learning to preserve foods or make craft cocktails or whatever that sort of thing is. I think it speaks to us spending so much time, we spend so much time behind screens, and it's probably a little ironic to say that to my computer via a podcast, but it does kind of remind us that we are self-sustaining, and that we don't have to depend so heavily all the time on corporations to kind of keep us going. And that's a big other discussion for maybe another day or another episode, when I've actually compiled my thoughts and written show notes. So that's something to think about. But I was thinking a lot about the value of having a craft, and I think the biggest thing for me is it's an aspect of self-care, um, which is something I'm really passionate about. I feel that women especially don't take enough time for themselves to relax and to appreciate themselves and do things that are valuable to them. I think we can be so wrapped up in in providing for others, whether it's providing for our jobs or providing for our families or providing for different obligations in life. So to be able to spend, even if it's only 15 minutes, to relax and to think about your day and to reflect and take stock and recognize what you need um, is so important. And being able to do that in a meditative way through craft is so valuable. So I hope I love hearing that I love hearing how everyone likes to spend their craft time. Um, for me, a lot of it is quiet. I sit and kind of relax and reflect, especially if it's something that I can work on without a pattern in front of me. Um, I often sit maybe with some quiet music um, and um, think about what I'm grateful for and what um, what joys are in my life. And it gives me a moment to just reflect and to quiet my brain, because I'm always sort of running in a million different directions. And I'm really glad to have that back. I spent about a year and a half barely knitting at all. And I was cooking a lot then, so I think I do get that same kind of meditative joy when I'm in the kitchen. But of course, the product is not as long lasting. Food will be eaten. But oftentimes I'm sharing the kitchen with someone else, or I'm cooking with an objective, which is to cook for others or, to entertain. And knitting often is fully for myself, fully and completely about me. I knit things that I want to knit. I don't knit a lot of gifts for people anymore. And I choose the fiber, I choose the pattern, I decide when I want to do it, how I want to do it. So to be able to have something that I have such great control over in life, because sometimes we can't control other people. We can't control situations at work, or we can't control what happens during the day. But I know I can come home and come back to my knitting needles, and that's kind of where I find my center. I'm sounding a little new agey, but I do think it's really wonderful that we can share this, and that out of something that's so gratifying, we can find community. And that's just been something I've been thinking about a lot over the last few weeks, especially after realizing that I haven't been very involved in craft for a long time. And I think I chalk a lot of that up to being new in DC and I was starting a new job. I had moved recently, and I had just started a new relationship, and all of that kind of consumed my energy. And certainly was having I have a gratifying and I had a happy life, no complaints. But I realized there was definitely something missing, and what was missing was that spark and that passion. And I'm so passionate about knitting, and it's so wonderful to now have this podcast and be able to share my passion with other people who can relate and who feel similarly, and to be able to create a community with those people. So it's just been something that I've been reflecting on over the last few days. So I thought I'd share a little bit. I do want to start, sharing some interesting topics and kind of thinking of ideas for the podcast in a grander scale than just what's happened in the last 2 weeks since we've talked. So, yeah, if you want to share the reasons why you love to craft, I'd love to hear them. So I'd love to talk about that in this week's thread in the Ravelry group. So that said, let me show you what's been on my needles. And nothing is off my needles, nothing at all. I am still knitting monogamously, which is crazy for me. Crazy. But maybe this is a reflection of me kind of getting back to the process of knitting and really enjoying it and not feeling like I need to have a finished product in order to feel like I've spent my time well, right? So first I'll show you my Pomme de Pin cardigan. It's growing larger. So I have divided for the fronts and the back. So my fronts are just on holders right now. And I've added another 2 inches, I think, to the back. So not a whole lot of progress this week, unfortunately, since we last talked. But I'm feeling good, and I'm still really enjoying this lace pattern. Again, this is the Pomme de Pin cardigan by Amy Christophers, and I'm so enjoying the pattern. And I do like that it's sort of a mental workout because she doesn't hold your hand through the pattern at all. Not to say that it's poorly written or anything, it's beautifully written, but it does expect you to sort of to be able to fill in the holes and understand the shorthand of a knitting pattern. So I wouldn't recommend Amy Christophers if you're a beginning knitter, but if you feel comfortable reading a pattern and if you feel comfortable with garment construction at all, it's definitely, they're definitely beautifully well written. And I like to, whenever I'm working with a pattern like this, I like to have a text alongside me that can help me when I'm in a jam. The book I've been using a lot lately is Little Red in the City by Isolde, or the book that is all about her. It's the book with all of the tips for sweater construction and fit and modifications, and it's very helpful when it comes to sweater prep and sweater knitting. I will link to that in the show notes along with everything else we talk about today, because I have a fear that I've said the wrong title for the book. I can't remember, but it is a really great wealth of information. Those are the books I'm most apt to buy when it comes to knitting. I love patterns, but I seem to usually buy patterns one-off, when I see something that I really love. I do have some pattern books, but for the most part, the books that I buy tend to be more about technique, more resource books. So that's just me. That being said, I am really enjoying this again still, and I think I'm making some decent progress. I want to finish the back this week, and hopefully that'll keep me on track to be able to have this ready in time for Maryland Sheep and Wool. I am a little concerned about the sleeves, about knitting the sleeves in full lace. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not gonna count my chickens. I don't want to jump the gun. Oh, and also, just as a tip, I put in a lifeline. You can see, I was out of waste yarn, so I used butcher's twine. A crazy person. Yeah, but I did lifeline when I divided the fronts and back because I was a little nervous that I was doing it wrong. But now it's a nice tracker. It's helping me keep track of how far I've gone. So just like a little bit over 2 inches, maybe 2.5, yeah, into the back. So far so good. I have no complaints. I'm really enjoying it. I wish I was knitting it faster, so I could wear it sooner. And the other thing I've been knitting on, still my Mizutama shawl by Olga Jazzy. This I've been knitting a bit more frequently, so it has grown significantly. I'm at 22 pattern repeats now. Or 22 stitch repeat or chart repeats. And the pattern I think calls for 34 repeats. Because I'm using sport weight yarn, I might go a little bigger than that. Right now I have, like, I'm gonna say maybe not a third, maybe like a quarter of the skein left. Somewhere between a third and a quarter left. So of course, you know, the repeats are getting longer and longer, which is great. So it's gonna eat up more yarn. So I might try to add a couple extra repeats in. I want this to be as big as I possibly can get. I want to eke out every last yard of fabric because I do have another whole skein of this to work with, and this is the Madeline Tosh 80-10-10 in sport weight, and the colorway is Holy Festival, and it's just knitting up so fun. And I know my mom is going to love this when it's done, if only because she's already told me she loves it, as she's seen it in progress. And yeah, I've knitted on this in public a few times, and people have come up to me and just said, like, ooh, what is that? So it's kind of fun to work on and see the progress. So it's fun to kind of see where the speckles pop up next and what color you end up with next. I've never thought of myself as much of a lace knitter, but I think that suddenly these stitch patterns are really appealing to me because they keep me interested. I love the look of stockinette, but I often get bored, I think, maybe. Or I'm just starting to enjoy the process of knitting a lot more again. I think for a brief period of time I became more of a product knitter, and now I'm back to really enjoying just the relaxing element of being able to knit and sit quietly or knit and listen to an audiobook or watch a podcast or whatever. So yeah, and this yarn is so soft, and it's made me addicted to merino, nylon, cashmere blends. So that's everything that's on my needles. I think I'm going to cast on a pair of socks this week because now I'm feeling naked or like wrong without a pair of socks on the needles, which is completely counterintuitive to who I am. But I do, like I've said many times, I have all that beautiful Neighborhood Fiber Company sock yarn, and I have some other special skeins I've stumbled upon, and I just bought a skein the other day. So yeah, I think I need some socks, and I really need to do the Fish Lips Kiss Heel because the pattern was so sweetly gifted to me, and I really want to see how fit works. And also I want to try going down needle size because I've been doing size 2, US 2 needles, and I think that they're a little too big. I'm getting some slouchiness. My socks are stretching out and getting a little bit, they bag out in the they're bagging out in the ankles. So I think one part gauge will help, and the other part is I need to maybe do some extra decreasing. I need my socks to be a little wider around my calves because I have bigger calves, I suppose, and then narrow out a little, so maybe some decreases around the ankle for some fitting, or maybe just ribbing down the front. I'm thinking maybe just doing some rib all the way down the leg of the sock, just for better fit, because I hate when my socks bag out at the ankles, because I usually wear a slimmer cut, like a slimmer cut pant, and I don't like it. Kind of like when you have that smooth silhouette and then it goes. I don't like that. So something to think about. I do want to play with sort of, since I'm just now getting into sock knitting, I want to play around a bit with the construction and start crafting what's the perfect recipe for me, and then take it from there. So it's just some stuff brewing, I guess, marinating in my head about sock knitting. So I'm sure this week I will cast one on. Oh, by the way, this is my adorable sweater sheep mug by Mary Kilvert. You can find this on Etsy. I'll post a link in the show notes. It's my favorite mug. It's my favorite mug of all time. It's so cute. With that, that's everything that's on my needles. Like I said, nothing off my needles this week. That's okay. I'm enjoying knitting. But I do have some... Oh, first, let's break up the podcast a little bit. I keep forgetting that I had some questions in the thread on Ravelry. The what do you want to know thread. So Sundance Fun Pants on Ravelry sent me quite a few questions, and I'm going to answer one today. And so she wrote, you mentioned that you work in higher ed. Are you a professor? A lot of knitters seem to be professors. I am not a professor. I considered it at one point. I studied art history and film when I was in college, and then I took a year off and worked and traveled, and then went back to school to pursue a master's in library science. And I was a librarian for a bit of time, and it seems like a lot of knitters are librarians. I think that's an interesting... I've met so many librarians who are knitters, perhaps because we enjoy solitary activities. I don't know. I don't know what the correlation is. So I was a librarian, and then I started working... I don't want to reveal too much personal information about my job, but so now I work at a university in Washington, D.C., and I work in advancement, so fundraising. And I'm not I'm not like a frontline fundraiser. I don't go ask people for money. I would be the worst at that job. But I work more in researching, strategic research for fundraising. So to help identify potential donors and to kind of identify trends. And it's completely unlike anything I thought I would do. But it's such an engaging field to be in, and a lot of fun. I love feeling like I'm working for an organization with a great mission, and I'm really passionate about education. I've spent so much time myself as a student and considered pursuing a PhD, but decided that I was kind of burnt on school, and that for now I'm happy. I have considered going back. It is something that I'm still thinking about. But in the meantime, I do really enjoy the work. And it does afford me a bit of... I think the work is really stimulating, and I love kind of having the opportunity to see the fruits of our labor. For example, today at work, I was at meetings all day for a special project and our special program that we're doing, and we got to listen to stories from students who were recipients of scholarship. And my university, many students receive scholarships, and it's just it was so wonderful to hear these really poised young people tell their stories and see, what great things that they're doing as students at this university. So it's a joke in DC that you're either a government wonk, so you work for the government, and so, or you're in the government in the same way. You're in like lobbying or something, so you have lots of political interests, or you're a nonprofit person, and we're the ones who really, really do it for the love, because we make even less than the government folks. But I do love it. So it's engaging, and then it gives me a little bit of free time to be able to come home and knit and cook, and when I come home, I get to feel good about the work I've done. So I really enjoy it. It's a strange career. My career is technically called prospect research and prospect development. And typically no one seeks it out as a job. You fall into it, and for some people it's a good fit. And I guess I'm one of those people. So thank you so much, Sundance Fun Pants, for that question. And if you have other questions about me or about my knitting or about DC or anything, put them in the thread. The what do you want to know? I think that's what I called it, thread. And I'm going to try and pay better attention, and answer some more questions. So it's always fun to be able to share. With that, let's move on to On the Town. So this past weekend was the Homespun Yarn Party in Savage, Maryland, and I went, and it was so much fun. It was so good. I got to meet some people. The funniest thing happened to me. I was I was just arriving. I was a little late, and I was walking up to the mill, and someone stopped and pointed and said, "I know you." And I stopped in my tracks, and she was like, "Your podcast," and ran up and hugged me. And that was Ava. Thank you so much for saying hi. I got to meet some fun people. I got to hang out with some ladies from a knit group in Arlington, Virginia, while I was waiting online to get into the event, because it was a little crazy. And I got to meet and have a bit of coffee with one of the viewers, E Hope, on Ravelry. So it was so great to meet you, and a lot of fun, and I got to do some shopping. So let me show you what I got. Oh, hooey. I forgot to pull out, I did buy 2 project bags. They are just plain burlap project bags, and they have the Homespun Yarn Party logo on them. They're really cute. I will show them in the next episode, but they're adorable. They're just like super simple little drawstring bags. I love them. I can always use more project bags. So first I got to meet Joelle and Anne from the Wandering Wool booth. So great meeting you guys. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Things were a little crazier. I think I probably would have stuck around longer and picked your brains. But Joelle is the dyer and the owner of Wandering Wool. And she's based in DC. And I bought her beautiful, beautiful yarn. This is a sock yarn, the Ossible Sock, which is the 80-10-10 superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon base. And I got this in Cranberry Bog. And I have just been really digging these like super saturated jewel tone colorways lately. And this just felt, I'm now spoiled, and I feel like I need cashmere in all of my sock yarn, because it just feels so good. And it's like that perfect combination between super soft and buttery and nice and springy, which I really like to have in a sock yarn. And I love this color. It is just like a beautiful tonal cranberry with some, some tonal variation, so nothing crazy. This is more my standard kind of stuff. And the color is so rich and so deep and beautiful that I couldn't pass it up. So, and it's 400 yards, so plenty, ample skein for a pair of socks. I will have leftovers. It's just so wonderful. I love this. It's beautiful. So I got one skein from Joelle, and I, of course, bought 3 skeins from Neighborhood Fiber Company. They didn't have any sock yarn, you guys. I mean, I could buy it online. I could have ordered it too, but I need instant gratification sometimes. All the sock yarn had been, I think most of it was bought at the Vogue Knitting Lives, and so they didn't have enough to bring to the homespun yarn party, which is okay. So I got 3 skeins of the Rustic Fingering, which is a single ply superwash merino, but it has this like glossy sheen to it that makes it look like it has silk in it. It's incredibly soft. It's 475 yards. And I got 3 skeins. The first skein is a kind of beige with gray undertones, and this colorway is called Federal Hill, named for a neighborhood in Baltimore. I used to work in Federal Hill when I lived in Baltimore, so I can't help myself. The second colorway is a sort of tonal browns. So this kind of like beiginess again, and like a more chocolatey brown mixed in. This colorway is called Patterson Park, another Baltimore neighborhood. I love this. These neutrals are total me colors. And then what a surprise! Another cranberry skein. This is the Shaw colorway, and the lighting in my apartment right now just isn't doing this justice, but it just has these like cranberry tones and then like lighter, less saturated bits and some like almost plumminess or like Merlot kind of like wine color. It's so stunning. This is the Shaw colorway. Shaw is a DC neighborhood, an awesome neighborhood in DC with lots of amazing restaurants. When you're in Shaw, you need to go to Mockingbird Hill. And so maybe I will wear this in Shaw when I go to Mockingbird Hill and get sherry and ham. That's what they specialize in. So I bought these 3 and immediately thought, okay, I guess it's time. You're a Vera Valimaki fan, and you're the only person on Ravelry who knits who hasn't made a color affection shawl yet. And since I'm kind of on this shawl kick, I'm thinking, yeah, these are going to be perfect for a color affection. And each one of these skeins is like 475 yards, which is crazy. I can't believe there's that much in here. So yeah, it's going to be plenty. It's perfect, and I'm just thrilled. I didn't need this. I was under budget though, so it's not that big a deal. I'm really happy. I definitely didn't need this yarn at all. But I knew I was going to buy something if I knitted, so I'm glad that I went to my 2 faves and was thoughtful. I figured I would allow myself sock yarn. You can always use a little bit of sock yarn. So anyway, I'm really excited about this. I bet I want to finish the shawl that's on my needles. I have 2 shawls on the needles right now. I have the Mizutama, and then I have that Guernsey wrap that I haven't even shown you since like the 1st or 2nd episode. So I want to finish one of those, and then whichever one ends up off the needles, I will probably cast on the Vera Valimaki's color affection next. So yeah, plans are happening. I have stuff that I have so many things I want to knit. It never ends. So yeah, I guess we can say that's it for on the town. I don't have a lot of cooking to share for on the stovetop today. I'll share two things. I didn't write any show notes, so I didn't think of sort of thematically what I've been thinking about cooking-wise lately. But I think a bit I've been thinking about cooking Indian food at home. I love Indian food a lot. There's a really great random little, like in a strip mall, Indian place near my parents' house in Baltimore, just north of Baltimore, that we go to a lot, called Bombay Nights. The worst name ever, but their food is wonderful, and I never go. Like, we never have enough time to go when I'm in town for a weekend. But we went pretty recently for the first time in like a year and a half. And there are a few places in DC that I like to go. There's Indique in Cleveland Park, which has great food. And there are lots of great Indian restaurants, but I feel like we never go. So I did make a BBC good food recipe over the weekend for kind of a chicken pilau, like a cross between that and chicken biryani, which is rice baked with dried fruits and nuts and warming spices. And this one I had I sauteed some chicken legs first and put that in for some protein. It was really delicious, and I have a bunch of leftovers, which is awesome. So I'll share the recipe for that in the show notes. And I think tomorrow I'm having a friend over for dinner, and she's been doing some vegan eating. So I think I'm going to make vegan chana masala. That's redundant, but chana masala is chickpeas cooked in masala, garam masala, and tomato and onion. And it's delicious. And we're going to have that over rice, and I think maybe some roasted cauliflower or something to put on top. So I'll let you know how that goes. I did find the recipe on a really awesome blog called Cookie and Kate that I just stumbled upon recently, which has a lot of really beautiful looking recipes for vegan and vegetarian. I think mostly vegan. I could be wrong, but lots of vegan and vegetarian dishes. So I'm really excited to try that recipe and see how it turns out, because it looks fantastic on the site, and it looks really easy to do. So I'm excited for that. Other than that, I have been cooking, but nothing is jumping out at me. I am kind of on a kick. I'm thinking I'm going to make some scones tonight, and I will be using the Smitten Kitchen cream scone recipe, which is like another one that's like super adaptable. So I had some dried cherries in the pantry that I'll probably use for that. I think I'm just craving scones because I had a loaf of Irish soda bread that I made with my mom for the St. Patrick's Day holiday, and it was so good and like so buttery, of course. And once it was gone, I was like, what am I going to do? I need more buttery bread to eat. I need more carbs. I love carbs. Other than that, I think that's everything to share that I have to share with you today. We're running a little long anyway. So, with that, thank you so much for joining me today. Everything you'll want to know about the Hungriest Knitter can be found on the blog, which is thehungriestknitter.com. There you can find links to YouTube, the iTunes feed, the Ravelry group, which is called the Hungriest Knitter Videocast. And if you're looking for me on Ravelry, on Instagram, or on Twitter, My name is Rachel Lynn C. And until next time, keep cooking, keep crafting, and stay hungry.